Hey, second graders, this is Mrs. Jones with another fractions lesson. This actually is fractions lesson 6, and so I'm going to be introducing, so we're going to do some work on the board. First thing I want us to do is to review something that we've already learned. All right, we have already talked about what a fraction is. A fraction is when a figure, like a circle or a rectangle, is divided into equal parts. And we have talked also about how, like with this circle, this is a whole, so it is equal to 1. Okay, this circle is divided into 2 equal parts, so we say it is divided into halves. And one way to show that is we have 2 parts in all, and we're showing all of them. So 2 over 2, 2 halves, is equal to 1. All right, then if we look at this circle, it is divided into 4 equal parts. It is divided into fourths. And so if we were to write a fraction to show it's equal to 1, it would be 4 fourths. There are 4 pieces, and we see all 4 of them. And then we move to the next one. This one is divided into 8 equal parts, so it would be eighths. That would be 8 eighths equals 1. And then I just added some extra ones just for fun, okay? This was tenths. So 10 tenths equals 1, all right? So this was divided into 10 equal pieces. And then if we look at the fraction bars that I did, same thing. Here's a whole. Then let's look at the pink bar. It is actually divided into twelfths, 12 equal pieces. So if we were going to say what is equal to 1 whole, we would say 12 twelfths. The green bar is divided into 5 equal pieces, is divided into fifths. So we would say 5 fifths equals 1 whole. And then for the black bar, thirds, 3 thirds equals 1 whole. All right, so that's just a little review. Like I said, I threw in some extra numbers just for fun. Now, I want us to talk about our lesson for today. Today we're going to be comparing fractions to look at the size, which are the smaller, which are the larger. Okay, so I need to do a little work right here. I'm going to do some erasing. And I'm going to take away this because it does not have a fraction. It's not divided into pieces. All right, we're going to look at one of each. 1 half, 1 fourth, 1 eighth, and 1 tenth. And if you will see, it's written on here. The yellow is kind of hard to see, but it says 1 half, 1 fourth, 1 eighth, 1 tenth. But just to be sure, because you can't see that yellow, excuse me, I'm going to write it. 1 half, 1 fourth, 1 eighth, 1 tenth. All right, now I'm going to ask you to do a little noticing, a little thinking. Look at the size of the pieces. All right, I've put the pieces in order from the largest size to the smallest. Okay, now I want you to look at the fractions for each one. See what you notice. Okay, I hope somebody's going, the denominator. Remember, denominators down the bottom. The denominators go in order from smallest to largest. Okay, and if you did say that or you did think that, you are correct. Okay, here is one big thing about fractions. All right, let me move these out of the way so I can write up there. Okay, the larger or the bigger the piece, the smaller the denominator is going to be. All right, the smaller the denominator, the bigger the piece. All right, let me show you why. To make a whole, it only takes 2. So if it only takes 2, the piece gets to be larger. To make a whole here, it takes 10 of them, so the pieces have to be smaller. So here's what we say. The larger the denominator, and remember, denominator is the number that tells how many in all, and it is the number that is down on the bottom, down for denominator. The larger the denominator, like here, the smaller the piece. And then what does that mean for us as second graders? Well, what it means is if we are looking at the numbers, the fraction numbers, and we see this one has 8 pieces, this one has 4 pieces, we know this is the larger denominator, so that means the piece is going to be smaller. All right, now this takes a little bit of thinking about, so I want you just to look at what Mrs. Jones wrote. I want you to look at the pieces. Okay, one way that I do this sometimes is I say, the larger the denominator, the smaller the piece. And the opposite is true. The smaller the piece, that means the larger the denominator. All right, so let's do the same thing using these. All right, so I'm going to erase this. And I'm going to take away the whole because we don't need it. So this time, I'm going to put these pieces over here. Whoop, those need to be broken apart. Okay, and the first thing I want us to think about is if I were going to put these in order based on the size of the piece, and if I was going to go larger piece to smaller piece, which one would I put first? Pink, black, or green? Okay, I would put the black one first. Okay, then if I was going to go to the next largest, well, it would be the green. And then the smallest size piece is the pink. Now, I'm going to write their denominators or their fraction underneath. 1/3, 1/5, 1/12. Now, let's see if this is true. The larger the denominator gets, does the piece get smaller? Yes, because this is 1/3. It gets smaller, but the denominator is getting larger. 1/12 is the smallest, and 12 is the largest denominator. All right, remember what Mrs. Jones said. Larger the denominator, smaller the piece. Okay, I'm going to pause this for just a moment because we're going to move over to do a workbook page. So if you will just hold for just a minute.